The grand ballroom shimmered with gold chandeliers and polished marble floors. But beneath the glamour was a cruelty few noticed. A deaf billionaire stood quietly at the edge of the celebration, his wealth undeniable, yet his presence dismissed. No one tried to communicate. No one offered inclusion. He was treated as if he were invisible. But he wasn't the only one ignored that night. In a corner, working silently in her uniform, stood Clara, the black daughter of the hotel maid. They didn't know her name, and they didn't care. What no one expected was that the most overlooked girl in the room would soon change everything. Watch until the end. Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. The gala was the highlight of the year, drawing CEOs, politicians, and elite investors from across the world. At the heart of it all was Richard, a powerful magnate whose company could unlock a billion-dollar partnership. Yet, despite his wealth, his deafness made him an outsider. Instead of accessibility, he was met with dismissive smiles, shallow politeness, and outright neglect. He carried decades of resilience, but tonight, isolation weighed heavier than ever. In the shadows of this glamorous event was Clara, only 16, and invisible for different reasons. She wasn't there to be noticed. Her mother was part of the hotel staff, and Clara often helped when she could. Being black and the daughter of a maid meant she was frequently overlooked, seen only as a background figure. But Clara was different. Life had taught her to observe, to feel the unspoken pain of those dismissed by society. And as she quietly watched Richard's isolation, she recognized the familiar cruelty. What no one realized was that Clara carried a gift that would soon flip the night upside down. As the night wore on, the tension in the room grew. The foreign investors, restless and unimpressed, were preparing to walk away. The speeches from polished executives rang hollow, their proposals shallow compared to what Richard could offer. But Richard stood silent, cut off from the conversation by their unwillingness to bridge the gap. Whispers filled the air. "He doesn't understand anyway. Just let it go." They chuckled, sipping champagne, while the man who held the key to everything was treated as irrelevant. For Richard, it wasn't just about business anymore. It was humiliation. His brilliance was trapped, his silence turned into a cage by their arrogance. And then Clara stepped forward. She had learned sign language years ago because her best friend back home was deaf. With courage trembling in her chest, she approached Richard, her hands moving gracefully. "Do you want me to help?" Richard's eyes lit up instantly. At last someone spoke his language. Clara began interpreting, her young voice carrying his words into the room with strength. The executives froze. The black maid's daughter, whom they had ignored all evening, was now the bridge between billions. As Clara translated, Richard unveiled strategies, innovations, and solutions that no one else had considered. The investors leaned in, captivated. Every sentence she carried was like a strike against the prejudice that had tried to silence them both. Still, doubt lingered. Could a girl dismissed for her skin color and class, and a man dismissed for his deafness, truly turn this night around? The breaking point came when the lead investor stood to leave, convinced the deal was lost. But Clara's steady voice carried Richard's final proposal, one that reshaped everything. It wasn't just about profit margins. It was about building an inclusive future, about markets that competitors had ignored, about opportunities only Richard's vision could unlock. The room went silent, not with dismissal, but with awe. The investor froze, then slowly returned to the table. He looked directly at Richard, nodded once, and said, "Deal." Applause erupted, but not for the executives who had failed. It was for the man they had silenced and the black girl they had overlooked. Clara had turned humiliation into triumph, breaking through barriers of race, class, and disability in one unforgettable moment. That night, power changed hands, and for the first time, Clara was no longer invisible. When the lights dimmed and the guests left, the billion-dollar deal made headlines, but the actual story never did. It wasn't about polished speeches or elite executives. It was about two people who had been overlooked. Richard, whose deafness was mistaken for weakness, and Clara, whose black skin and humble background made her invisible. Together, they proved that brilliance isn't defined by privilege, and dignity cannot be denied. Clara walked home with her mother that night, not in diamonds, but with something more valuable, the knowledge that her courage had changed history. And Richard? He left with respect, a reminder that true power comes not from being heard by many, but from being understood by even one. So ask yourself, how many more voices are being silenced, ignored, or dismissed right now? And what would happen if someone, like Clara, chose to listen? Which country and city are you watching from? Take care.